Hello, welcome to Book Up Session. I'm Ashley Gunn. Today's book review is going to be on Gus, the second book of the Brightside series by Kim Holden. A couple of weeks ago I did a review of Brightside and I will make a playlist for these. Absolutely do not watch this review or read the book without reading Brightside first, because this will completely spoil the ending for that book and I would hate to do that to you. At the end of this review there will be some spoilers, but I'm going to give everybody a warning before we do that. As I said, this is the second book of the Brightside series, and you'll probably know if you've read Brightside that this is going to be Gus getting over Kate's death. Obviously, he's going to have to learn how to deal with losing his best friend and a woman that he was head over heels in love with. I did really appreciate that Kim incorporated Keller, Brightside's basically boyfriend, last love, into this book, as well as some of her friends from college, so that you still had that sense of Brightside being around. Unfortunately, Gus does not handle Kate's death well, and I don't think that anybody really expected him to, but he definitely goes on a self-destructive pattern of sleeping with random women and even takes up drug use. Eventually, his band gets him a personal assistant because he's no longer reliable, and they need to make sure he at the very least is taking care of himself and getting to appointments. And that's where Scout comes in. Scout is going to be a young lady who is hired as Gus's personal assistant. She does not listen to their music, does not have really any knowledge of, except for the fact that these are famous people, what they're doing or anything about Brightside or what Gus is going through. And I think in a way that was probably best for Gus, because Scout doesn't coddle him. She expects him to be a professional and do his job. Gus becomes really intrigued by Scout. It seems like every time they take a step forward in their friendship, she takes steps back and retreats. She has a tendency not to talk about herself and to kind of fade into the background. She has some scarring on her face, and because she doesn't really talk about herself, nobody knows how it happened, if that is why she hides away. Unfortunately, you're going to find out she has a very difficult past. She comes from a family of alcoholics. Her father's an alcoholic, as well as her aunt. It's a big mess of family drama as far as that's concerned. And then on top of that, she was in an abusive relationship, and that's pretty much as far as that's going to go, simply because you'll read it and you'll figure it all out. As I said, Gus is on that self-destructive path, so you have these two people who have extreme hurts that have happened to them, and they're going to heal each other. That's going to be what your storyline is. Okay, so at this point I am going to start doing spoilers, so if you'd prefer not to have them, this is the time that you probably want to click off. Thank you all for joining me, and I will see you again soon. For everyone who wants to stick around with spoilers, I just want to talk about some things that really struck me in this book, as well as, some things that I personally felt when I was reading it. The first thing we have to talk about is how much it bothered me that Gus went on such a self-destructive path. He's alive. He just saw a woman who wanted to live pass away, and yet he doesn't cherish that. And then on top of it, he's smoking. Every time that man lights a cigarette, I want to smack him across his head. You just watch someone go and wither away with cancer, and you're still smoking. I don't understand how that works. At the same time, as I mentioned, Scout was in an abusive relationship. It's far beyond that. There was extreme reasons why that relationship didn't work out. On top of the fact he was verbally abusive, then you also have the fact that he was married, and they broke up because some really serious things happened, and I'm not going to spoil that for you. However, he comes back to the picture, continues to verbally abuse her and treat her like crap, and then at one point physically abuses her, and she has this, I guess the best way to describe it is that she just shrinks away. Every time he's abusive to her, treats her like crud, these big lies that he's had in the past, she's going to stand up to him. This is going to be the last time, and she never does it. Then Gus comes in, because the last time she was physically abused, as I mentioned, and she had a bruise on her face. He comes in, sees the whole situation, and has her get a restraining order. I'm going to tell you, the way that was written, I felt like Michael, the guy who was abusive, is going to come back, that he's going to somehow be part of the story again. And really, that storyline is over after the restraining order. I feel like that part was just a little unfinished. Not that I wanted Michael to break the restraining order or anything like that. The way that it was written, she never told him off. She never stood up for herself. I guess the restraining order was her standing up for herself, but it felt like after everything he had put her through, and after you read the last time they're together, that she should have had one of those big, I'm strong, I can take care of myself, I can stand up for myself moments that she never received. That bothered me a little bit. I think that it's obvious that maybe the problem here was, I loved Brightside. I thought that her personality was just incredible. She tried to see the best in a situation where she knew she wasn't going to make it out of it. And so when I read Gus, these two people They're not that person. These are incredible characters. This is a beautiful story of how people can help heal each other. It just didn't have the same feel as the first book did, and the reason I think that happened was because since Kate passed away, everything was wrapped up. All of her relationships, she literally took the time to say goodbye to every single person and make sure everything in her life was complete, even when it comes to her almost aunt, whatever you want to call that woman. However, in this book, like I said, Michael just felt unfinished to me. There were times where I felt like Gus didn't learn his lessons. I think that Brightside was more my speed, and after reading it, I really wanted Gus to be that, and it just wasn't. That doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with Gus, and I hope it doesn't take away from it. It just means that I connected better with the characters from the first book, which I think everybody does. Everybody has those characters that just mean a little more to them. I absolutely loved Kate. I thought that her personality was incredible. Kim Holden was an incredible author, either book that you choose to read. I know that there is another book in the series, which I am intending on reading. If you guys would like to check out this book, I always put the author's link as the very first link in my description, so check that out. If you have any questions, comments, recommendations, go ahead and leave that down below. You can always email me. There's a link somewhere on this page. And if you want my videos every week, subscribe. Thank you all for joining me, and I will see you again soon.